Well, good morning, everyone. Pastor Cliff here, and on my left is Pastor Joe. He may have a touch of laryngitis. He may or may not talk with us today, but right now he's has enjoyed a full English breakfast in jolly old England. So just be praying for him. He'll be back with us with his comments next week. Today he's just going to observe. We just got back from the coffee shop, Beautiful Gate. Miss Corey is in Mexico, and her mom, Kathy, is in taking her place. So stop in today and say hello to Kathy, and business as usual. In fact, they are getting ready to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. So go in and take a look and see what's going on. It's a very unique coffee shop. Not only coffee, sandwiches and stuff, but it's a place to have a Bible study. She has several rooms fixed up that people come in. They have Bible studies, people meet. It's just a good place with a great environment. Plus, the one thing that Corey's done, she supplies money for missions. She has done this out of her profits ever since she opened up. And her heart is in missions, and we really appreciate the support that she is giving all over the world. So you stop in, get a Big Pig sandwich, a cup of coffee, chai tea, whatever you like, and we're thankful. Behind the scenes is our executive producer, Jerry Wells, as always, doing a great job, and we're glad to have you today. Today we're going to be looking at Psalms 35 as we continue our journey into Psalm. I want to set this Psalm up. The story behind this Psalm is that David is on the run against Saul. If you know the story of David and Saul, Saul was the king. David, on a journey to bring a lunch and check on his brothers, found out that Goliath was making a fool out of the army of Israel. He went down, challenged him, killed Goliath, and from that time on, the people's heart was with David because David was a warrior. Saul was a much bigger man in stature, but he wasn't much of a warrior. We don't understand why, but that's just the way he was. So while David's popularity with the people went up, his popularity with Saul went down. Saul's son, Jonathan, and David were very good friends. And one day, David and Jonathan met out in the field, and Jonathan brought word to him that the friends in the court, one of the man's name was Doeg, but there was a group of people within the court of Saul who were David's friends, had been loyal to him, but now they were plotting with Saul in order to take David's life. And so the people that were close to him have now turned their back on David. Not only turned their back, but they're plotting against him. And so it brings out, what do you do as a Christian? What do you do? What's your attitude towards people that you count as a friend, and you find out maybe they're not being as much a friend as you thought they were? Do you do the old adage of an eye for an eye, and whatever they say about you, you say about them? You know, there's a lot of ways, and what happens sometimes is that friendships are broken for a lifetime, and not only that, the witness of the witness of Christians and how they settle their disputes are put into a light that's just not very flattering. You know, we have to have the witness that we say and the witness that we are. They've got to match, or we have a message that no one is going to receive. So in this psalm, it's got three different sections. We're going to look at verses 1 through 10. David is talking as a warrior. And then from 11 through 17, the scene shifts to like a courtroom, And David is a witness in the court. And of course, the court that he appeals to is the court of the Lord God. And then you finish the psalm in verses 18 to 28. David then reverts to being a worshiper. And this is a lesson for us today on how do we contend with people who talk about us, people who spread vicious lies about us, people that we think that are our friends and turn their back on us when we're not around. How do you handle that? This is a perfect picture of that. David begins, he says to the Lord, contend with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. And then he goes into talk of a warrior. Take up a shield and armor. Brandish the spear and the javelin. You are my salvation. May those who seek my life be disgraced and put to shame. And then he calls on the angel of the Lord. There's only three instances in the whole Psalms that the angel of the Lord is mentioned. Last week in Psalms 34, the first mention of the angel of the Lord, and here in this psalm we get two mentions of the angel of the Lord. Who is the angel of the Lord? Well, let me bring it to your mind. Do you remember when Abraham got a visit from the angel of the Lord as he sat under the oaks of Mamre? Sarah received a visit from the angel of the Lord. It is a pre-incarnate witness or appearance of Jesus Christ. He is the angel of, there are many angels mentioned, two by name, Gabriel and Michael. Then many times in scriptures there is angels. But the angel of the Lord is the only one who refers to himself as God. So it is what we'd say a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus. And here David is asking for the angel of the Lord to drive his enemies away. So what he's doing is he is talking about action I believe that he'd like to. David was a warrior. David has never seen a fight that he would back down from. And if David was in the 21st century, you'd never find him taking a knife to a gunfight. He would be ready. But in this prayer, as he's seeking God's help the way he should, he's speaking like a warrior. He wants God to turn into that warrior God. Then from there, he begins to become a witness. And he says there's some ruthless witnesses have come forward. They question me on things I know nothing about. They repay me evil for good and leave me like one that is bereaved. Sometimes the best person to talk to when there are problems that you face are people who are becoming a problem, particularly friends. The best person to talk to, the most trustworthy person to talk to, is to God in prayer. Because one thing you can be assured of, you can speak honestly, you can speak openly. God already knows the intent of your heart. He knows how you're feeling. So the one thing that we see in the examples of prayer is extreme honesty. Too many times when we begin to pray, we revert to King James English. And I don't think God even understands King James English. I don't. It's confusing. Talk like you talk. Express the feelings that are real. And when you do this to God, an amazing thing happens. If what you're feeling and the intensity of your prayers and the things that you're saying, God can direct them in many different ways. There are many times that I can recall being angry or angry about a situation. And I just go and kind of blow off to God. And when I'm over, when I'm through speaking, I feel good, a lot better, because I have got it out. And in my speaking, it helps me to define, is there real truth in what I'm saying? Am I looking at the situation the way it is? And in prayer, God directs this. And then the most important thing, when you go to God and you empty your emotions, your feelings, your everything, you just lay bare before God, it doesn't go any further. And you see, we should be that type of a people today. But understand, when there are issues to settle, and you can't settle them one-on-one, face-to-face with the people, if those are not settled, then you take them to the Lord and place them in a higher court. David has prayed and asked God to be a warrior. He has been a witness. He talks about, they are like ungodly. They maliciously mock me. They gnash their teeth at me. And then he asked the Lord, how long are you going to look at this? How long are you going to see what's happening behind my back? You know, issues that are in front of us, we can handle those quite readily many times. But it's those issues that are only issues because they're hidden from us. I don't know about you, but those are the kind that bug me the worst. And then when you approach someone, they deny saying it. Okay, there again, you've got a choice. Are you going to blow up, or are you going to then go to the court of the Lord? After David talks about, Lord, how long are you going to look at this stuff? He begins to worship God, because he really gets, it's kind of like when you're in prayer and you've said everything you want to say, and you've unloaded all of this burden, you've talked to God, and now there's a sense of worship, because you know whose presence you've been in. You know that He is a sovereign God. You know that the issue is in the hands of God, and He can resolve it in a way that would bring Him honor and Him glory, and would bring glory to the kingdom. He says, I'll give thanks to you in the great assembly. Among the many thousand I will praise you. Do not let those gloat over me who are my enemies without cause. Do not let those who hate me without reason maliciously wink the eye. Winking the eye is like, if anybody ever said anything to you or to somebody and they wink their eye and let you know, hey, I'm just talking, it's not really true. Lord, you've seen this. Do not be silent. Do not be far from me. Awake and rise to my defense. His appeal is to God. You are my defense authority. Bring the truth. I don't know of anything more frustrating in life when there are issues that are going on and you know the truth. The other person knows the truth, but they're taking a different stance. It's very frustrating because it seems like truth doesn't win out, but it always does. We can unload like a warrior. We can become the witness and take our case before God. But that will always turn into a worship experience. Because in reality, you know, to say that God is sovereign, that's a very comforting thought in one way. But to bring that down into the everyday, it's like this. Nothing goes past God's attention. You ever realize that you cannot go to God and tell Him something He didn't already know? And I think prayer is simply many times us unloading, us taking our side, and we're going to the only true mediator that is truth personified. So this is how we handle enemies. This is how we handle friends who have turned into enemies. We are honest, we witness, and we don't ever forget to leave the presence of God worshiping. Joe, do you have anything to say? Okay, well, you think up something. We're gonna need you to talk next week. Listen, if you've enjoyed this, hit that share button, send it on. We're trying to get the gospel all over the world. In fact, we've got friends in Lithuania and Egypt and other places of the world that watch us. It's a crazy thing, like Joe says, two old guys drinking a cup of coffee and talking about the Lord. But we're glad to come to you every week and share our thoughts. We thank you for watching. And if you, again, like it, hit the like button and share it to somebody, because the gospel of Christ, that's what goes forth, okay? Not us, not our opinion, but Scripture. God bless you. See you next week.